To hear from President Trump. He is expected to address a huge crowd in Battle Creek, Michigan. That's a live look there where were reports of people lining up for hours in 18-degree weather to try and attend this event and hear the president address this crowd. And he's sure to bring the battle against impeachment to Battle Creek, Michigan. Let's bring in Randy Zellen to this let's bring in Kenneth Vecchio to this conversation because, again, the Democrats were saying we had no choice but to do this. There were just too many instances of bad behavior from President Trump that it would have been them neglecting to do their duty, even though this is technically not going to go anywhere, that they felt a need to do this as Congress should.
You know what, Michelle? I almost fell asleep listening to Steny Hoyer's.
All right, he's not the most riveting speaker.
Incredibly boring dribble. And one thing we learned from that is that the Democrats really have had an unholy vendetta against Donald Trump. Unconstitutional. All these investigations that Congress has implemented against Donald Trump, you need an articulable, reasonable suspicion that a crime has been committed in order to investigate somebody and to issue subpoenas. All these different votes that he talked about, only 40% of Democrats voted, only 29% of Democrats voted. Every one of them is an abuse of power and unconstitutional. You know what's also unconstitutional? What Representative Scalise started talking about when he was referencing that Professor Turley is that the abuse of power is by Congress in issuing subpoenas to the president, and then with the president utilizing his constitutional right to go to the Supreme Court and contest them. They turn around and file a contempt of Congress impeachment charge against him. That is an abuse of power. That is unconstitutional. You know what's also unconstitutional? What we heard earlier from one of the correspondents. If they think that they're going to hold this impeachment and not do anything with it and just hold it over his head, now, that is impeachable. Why? We also have a right to a speedy trial, even in an impeachment trial.
All right, well, we don't know what we would expect from the Senate if it does go to trial, Randy, because on the one hand, we've had the Democrats in the Senate pushing for more witnesses to be put forward, and then we had Mitch McConnell saying, no, you had your chance to pull forward witnesses. We don't think that this should happen now in the Senate. If it does come to that, and it does seem as though it will come to that, would Republicans be guilty of a double standard if they don't offer more due process to the Democrats? Granted, the Democrats deprived Republicans of that due process, as Republicans alleged during the House proceedings, but wouldn't Republicans be guilty of the same then?
Everybody's guilty of the same thing. As you just said it, the Democrats are guilty of double standards. The Republicans are guilty of double standards. Both sides are guilty of really not paying attention to the American public. It's like you have 431 people in the House, 100 senators all around one chess game trying to outwit each other, but we are all the pawns. And everybody seems to be losing sight of it. So I am so cynical already and so jaded, because how could two people look at the same piece of paper or the same pen and say, no, it's not a pen, or no, it's not a piece of paper? There's one set of facts, there's evidence, and it either is or it isn't. It's become political.
There have been very different interpretations, to your point, of the same set of facts. So it is completely.
But when you have the jury, wait. When you have the jury saying, I've already made up my mind before anything has happened, you might as well just throw the whole system out.
This isn't a real jury. This isn't a real jury. As Mitch McConnell said, this is not an unbiased situation. This is politics. This is biased.
Then the system is doomed to fail.
Defendant's rights come first. And he is sitting in the seat of a defendant no matter what. And what the Congress did was completely unconstitutional.
So he's playing with house money.
In not allowing defense witnesses to be called. Now, on the other side, at a trial here, they don't have to do anything. They're not some impartial group.
So then it's not a trial.
It is a trial, but it's a trial by people who are politicians.
It truly is a kangaroo court.
I say go stuff it to the Democrats and giving them any extra rights.
Well, that's certainly not going to get anybody anywhere.
Right. Well, Randy, you make a point that this may be setting a dangerous precedent, and that is something that Republicans have been concerned about, that if it is purely political, if it is looking at evidence and seeing it in the lens through which your party presents, then we're all doomed, as you put it.
I don't think this is what the founders had in mind.
All right. Randy, thank you so much. Randy Zellen, Kenneth Vecchio. We will be continuing our coverage of this